Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is November 11th, 2024. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas Varza? Here. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, this is a committee meeting this evening, and we will not be voting on anything. This is pure informational this evening. Most importantly, what's on our agendas, I'd like to skip around a little because we do have a couple of vendors in the room. I'd like to be cognizant of their time to make their presentations so we can release them. This evening we have two presentations regarding insurance renewal under Human Resource and Insurance. And Trustee Murphy, this is your committee. I'd like to ask if you would please, if we could call up Horton Insurance first to discuss the renewal of our property and casualty, followed by Alain Mesereau with our health insurance.
Sure. Tonight we have the presentation by Horton Insurance regarding the 2025 property and casualty insurance renewal.
Tony, I was going to say, if you like, you're welcome to sit here too, if you want. Yeah.
Thank you. Give me a little bit of a desk. Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Ryan and trustees, thank you for the invitation coming this evening. I assume everyone received a copy of the summary you have there? Okay. So just a little bit about Horton. Actually, the only change this year, we are now part of Marsh McLennan Agency, and it really doesn't change anything for the village of Alsip, but what it does is that it actually increases our marketing leverage within the public entity space. I've been doing this for at least 25 years. Horton has had a dedicated public sector for 25 plus years, and in terms of our 6-state footprint, we have about 700 public sector clients in the area. There's about 400 Horton employees within that same footprint, and we represent public entity clients at a state and federal level. Okay, just a summary on the state of the marketplace in for property casualty. It's what we call hard or tight, but I can tell you 5 years ago there might have been 20 property casualty insurance companies that are willing to write in Cook County. Now there's probably 4 or 5 on a property casualty basis. In Cook County, it really comes down to claims, casualty claims, whether it's law enforcement liability, civil rights violations, et cetera, even something as simple as a car wreck. They tend to be a factor of 2 or 3 in this county versus others. So the specific bullet points I have here is the state of the market. We have property, law enforcement, auto liability, excess liability are all increasing across the board for public entities. On the next page, we have program marketing. You've been with ICRMT, which is the Illinois County Risk Management Trust. This would be your 4th full year with them, and they continue to be not only the best in terms of premium, but also in terms of coverage. There's some unique aspects for their excess liability, and they also have a number of sublimits within their property and casualty forms that are better than others. So you can see here some of the carriers that you might be more familiar with. Allied Public Risk, Travelers, Glatfelter, and a couple of other ones were not able to come close. Some of them actually declined. So we are recommending ICRMT for the renewal. We were also able to save you $5,000 or $6,000, but I need on the cyber liability. and there's something called endpoint network monitoring. You used to have a Kaspersky subscription to that. I don't know if has that continued?
I think we're getting away from that now. He's going to something else.
Okay, well, if there is something else, I'd recommend going with the less expensive program. But that's one of the mandates that they have, that there is something in place for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next page is just a quick summary. Illinois County Risk Management Trust, ICRMT. It's been around since 1983. They have about 475 public entity programs within that, and that's everything from counties to villages and cities like Alsip to sanitary districts and schools. It's a very well-funded program, and it's underwritten by A-rated carriers. Okay, Mayor Ryan, you and I talked a little bit about this, but when we talk about property values, the village of Alsip has approximately $200 million in building values. When I say that, it's not what you could sell it for, it's what you could rebuild it for, replace it for. There's a big difference there. And all carriers, including ICRMT, imposes a 4% inflationary increase on those values every year. So when you see what the change in values is year over year, you're going from $202 million to $211 million, which is that 4%. And it's a big number. It's $8 million. Okay. So everything else is pretty what we call flat. Number of employees, number of full-time law enforcement officers, autos, the value of the EDP is your computer equipment, and everything else is pretty much the same as expiring. So it's pretty flat in all those other areas. The next page is what your premium is doing year over year, and it's actually increasing $80,000, which is less than 10%, which is very good by today's standards within public entity. I can tell you in the last 2 years, 2 of my clients have had law enforcement-related auto claims in excess of $5 million. So those things are happening, and it's unfortunate, but again, Cook County is the common denominator there. And we'll be able to reduce this once we get that endpoint protection covered by $6,000 or so. Okay, so I also gave to the mayor and to Tony a couple of options regarding deductibles. Your current property deductible is $10,000, and I know, believe me, I know that there's a lot of pressure to reduce expenses, and so I have provided a couple of options, increasing that to $25,000 and $50,000, not only for the property, but there's also a deductible on your law enforcement liability of $25,000, and I can give you a whole table and what that breakout is. Heritage Apartments. That represents 70% of the value of your buildings. It's $150 million of the $215 million. And so 70% of your property insurance premium is paying for those buildings. They're older. If you had built them brand new right now, you'd get a far lower rate, but that's just not what you're dealing with here, right? Now, on the positive side, let's talk about that. ICRMT uses full-time police officers, number of vehicles, village expenditures, etc. They do not use square footage as an exposure base when they're working up your premium. So your heritage apartments are covered under the casualty, but you're not paying an additional premium for that. That's the positive side of things. A couple of years ago, we did try to market heritage apartments separately, and that would have increased the village's insurance by anywhere between 30% and 40%. It's a big number. Any questions for me?
Tony, on the email that you sent us on deductibles, pretty much all that was on there was, and I apologize, everybody, because with the colored paper used, I just used the black and white, and everything came out kind of dark, but it didn't have any, like you said, if we increase our deductibles, how much of an impact did that make on my premium?
Yeah, if you had a lot of claims, you'd also be paying a lot more in premium, and you'd get a higher adjustment there. If you were to go from $10,000 to $25,000 in a property deductibles, that savings is $23,000. If you were to increase that to $50,000, that savings would be $40,000.
And obviously, like anything else, the risk is still on us. We're going from a $10,000 deductible to a $25,000 deductible.
No, if you were to do that, it's the same as expiring that I quoted, but if you were to increase it from 10 to 25, that reduction would be almost $23,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like anything else, I could have one claim, and I'm right back where I started.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth it.
Right.
And there's a couple of other options that we talked about last year. You carry $15 million in excess liability. Our Cook County clients carry a minimum of $10 million. That extra $5 million excess the 10 is approximately $46,000. And I can summarize all of this that you can read a little bit better.
Exactly, Tony, because I don't think we've exercised, or maybe Tony Fasano, our HR manager, you can tell me, have we used our excess liability to that extent? To $15 million? I didn't think so. So I'd like to look at that adjustment to go back to 10 if that were the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to suggest lower limits, but I can tell you that clients of ours that are in Cook County that have similar situations in terms of, they're looking to take on a little bit more risk, but also seeing where they can cut corners. Going from 15 to 10 million isn't unheard of. And if it's a $46,000 savings, that's a big number.
So trustees, I made just a couple of quick Post-it notes here too, just on what we're looking at this evening. So as Mr. Evans said, building values are up 4%, which equals $8.1 million. That includes everything the village owns, Village Hall, police station, fire stations, heritage apartments, everything that we own is. That property insurance was increased by $41,000 by itself, and then another $20,000 for the $40,000 more, I should say, overall. So we're looking at just over an $80,000 increase to our property and casualty insurance. And as you said, Tony, that's simple. I'm saying the word simple, but a simple 4% increase is huge. That's the driver. But like you said, now if we went from a $15 million excess liability
to 10
component back to 10, we'd save half that $80,000 going, by, you'd say we would reduce our cost by $40,000, 46.
Correct.
Gotcha. I think it's definitely worth looking at. And board trustees, just so you understand, this is a December 1 renewal, so I will get that information back to you from Mr. Evans before we approve. But we're going to have to approve this possibly even next week. Okay. Do anybody have any questions for Tony on property and casualty?
I just want to make sure on the property that we can clearly break out the amount related to heritage from the other properties. Can we do that
Yes,
on the
there's something
premium?
called a statement of values that I provide each year, and it's actually in the renewal proposal that I provided the mayor and Tony. And it's actually the last, how many buildings are there? But there's also outbuildings there. It's probably 20 lines of coverage in there, of scheduled buildings in there. And so on a separate email, I have it in an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
I'm happy to send it to you.
Please. And this way, this trustee, certainly we'll do that for budget purposes.
Well, for accounting purposes
This
in
encompasses the
total.
whole thing, but we'll break it out for everybody because, so we know who, that's a segregated budget, make sure we're collecting separate.
Right, because
for
I
it.
said the heritage piece will go against the heritage fund
Absolutely.
specifically.
Right.
And we need to be able to make sure we can break that out with some kind of backup since it's an enterprise fund.
Very good. And then, that's about it. Like you said, Tony, for the most part, everything else is flat with those two exceptions.
It is, and I can tell you this time of year, given this program's effective date is 12/1, there are a lot of renewal increases that I'm talking about, not exposures, anything like that. You're under 10% year over year. Most of the ones that I'm giving out this year are between 12 and 18%. It's a lot more.
Okay.
And we continue to see that. So if I can give you a couple of tools and just have your decisions that you want to make on changing this program, at least you'll have the information in front of you, what those changes would be and what the premium impact would be.
Maybe even if we polled the board right now, I mean, would everyone be interested in seeing that excess liability go from $15 million to $10 million and saving $46,000?
I like the idea.
I do too. Tony, are there any other driving factors that we could do outside of the scope? Lighting, security, anything like that would drive that number
You know what,
down for
Trustee?
consideration?
Trustee Murphy, we should probably have the conversation separate. I don't want to share it with the public.
Okay.
Okay.
I think before you make a decision on that, since there are 450 or so members of this ICRMT program, why don't I just give you a benchmark in terms of the number of members that have 10 million in Cook County and
Sure.
the number that have more than that.
That'd be fine. Okay.
I think that would help.
I'll share with everybody during the week, and I'll get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Trustees, any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it again.
Tony, if you would, please, could you do me a favor and sign that clipboard, just so we know who spoke to the board tonight? Tony Fasano, did you have some more booklets there? Thank you. If you can share those with any of the board members that might need one.
I did in my email.
Helen?
Oh, for the,
Yeah, good. Do you guys need a booklet?
Yeah.
Chris, you need one?
I need one.
Yeah, you
Yes,
can use
please.
All right, Tom.
And we can actually share.
one. You got an extra one, right? I got one. I got one. No, if you can, get an extra one for Murph?
They said they were going to share.
We'll share.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you very much. Trustee Murphy, go ahead. You had your second presentation.
Okay, next we have a presentation by Alliant Mesereau Insurance regarding the 2025 health insurance renewal.
This is Renee Formel, our broker. Thanks,
Good
Renee.
evening. Thank you for your time tonight. If you can turn to the presentation in front of you, if you move to page 4, this is going to provide a summary of the current coverages. So most of the focus in the presentation is regarding the medical program. This is a high-level overview, but you have two components of your medical program. You have fixed costs. This is insurance to protect you as you pay out claims, and also administration fees to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We were looking at an 18.7% increase for your fixed costs. It was negotiated to a 12.1% increase. And then the other larger component of your program is your actual claims. As Blue Cross Blue Shield pays your claims, you pay them back the following month, and they will give you a projection of what to budget for an increase in claims for 2025. So the very good news for the village is that the increase was projected at 1%. Trend we're looking at is around 8%, so you guys have performed well in the prior 12 months that they review, and so you're actually sidestepping that inflation that we're seeing in the marketplace. When we combine these two costs, you'll see on the following pages that when we add the two together, the change from the prior period is actually 3.8%. Our last final step is we look at the rates that you use to communicate with employees, and for those that go out on COBRA, you have what we call conventional rates. They should represent the funding of the bottom line. We have to look at the current enrollment to see, based on the current conventional rates, where we are funding, and then true up to make sure we pay for that 3.8% change. What we've seen is from this year to last year, a reduction in families and spouses that are enrolled on your program. And those premium rates bring in more dollars into the budget. So if someone's enrolled as employee only, the cost that is reflected is less than if you're enrolled as a family. So as people migrate out of those tiers, that's the final true-up. What are we funding for today? And we have to make sure we're funding for this new bottom line. When we take that final step, the actual conventional rates that you're communicating with employees should change by 8.8% to represent the actual cost of the village. So when you're dealing in a self-funded program, it's not necessarily that as of January 1st, all of your costs are changing. Your fixed costs are changing, and you've been paying your claims up until this point. It's kind of a true-up to say, this is where you're at with claims, and this is how you budget going forward. On our dental program, much more simplistic. There's no insurance pieces to protect you from large claims. You don't have large claims in dental. You have administration fees you pay to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and there's no change in what they're looking for administration. From a claim standpoint, they're telling you to budget for a 4.2% increase in claims. The two of these equal out to be about 3.7, but we have the same story. When we look at what the program funds for today based on our current rates, we need a true-up of those rates by 6.4%. And I'll show you the additional detail as we walk through the presentation. I'll just quickly touch on the other programs that we represent on your behalf. The retiree supplement with Benestar has a 4.4% increase. Vision has no change in rates. Life insurance for the first time is having rate action since 2015. So approximately 10 years where your life insurance rates have not changed. The insurance carrier is looking for an annual increase of $370. That's that 8.4%. So not large premium dollars that you're paying out, increase of $370. They did not want to remove the increase or negotiate it, but they, however, added in the line of duty benefit. And this will be for police and for fire. In the event that they have a claim in the line of duty, they will receive an additional $10,000 benefit on top of their life insurance and AD&D policy. Short-term disability, no change in rates. If you move to page 6, we did approach the life insurance and short-term disability markets on your behalf. Not unusual to see that with your industry, many of these insurance carriers are declining to quote. If you move to page 8, this is a summary of your current plan. You have a plan where the majority of employees are enrolled on a standard PPO plan that has a HCA component. The HCA component is of the deductible. The plan has a formal deductible of $1,250. Employees are responsible for the first $500, and then the village actually pays the other $750 in deductible. After that deductible is satisfied, everything is typically covered at 100% when plan members stay in network, with the exception of paying co-payments for their prescription drugs. If you look to our high deductible health plan, this is a plan with a high deductible. Plan members have to pay that high deductible in every instance. They have the ability by being enrolled in this program to open up a health savings account, which is an account where they put money aside pre-tax. Village is giving seed dollars into that account. We have minimal enrollment in this program. You're going to see noted in red a plan design change. This is mandatory. Government regulates the minimum deductible in order to be HSA compliant, and that deductible is increasing by $100. So you're seeing that change, and that will go into effect for 2025. Pretty common to have changes in the deductible. Otherwise, aside from that mandatory deductible change, this renewal is to renew with no other plan design changes. And then underneath, this is where we summarize those fixed costs. I want to point out that the specific policy, you'll kind of see that in the middle of the page. You want to keep in mind that the village pays their own claims, but they do not pay them indefinitely. So for each plan member, they agree to pay the first $70,000 in claims. If the claims exceed $70,000 in the policy period, which is January through December, Blue Cross Blue Shield will take over paying that claim. and that is to protect you from catastrophic loss. They also have an aggregate over the whole entire policy. That is the first line of insurance that you see. It's minimal dollars. From a stop-loss market, what we see overall is a hardening of the market, and we consider you not to have tremendous losses. You had approximately $550,000 that Blue Cross Blue Shield reimbursed. So claimants that exceeded $70,000, Blue Cross paid out $550,000, which was just about half of your stop-loss premiums. So that initial renewal that we saw from them was 16.6. They did agree to reduce it to an 11.6. Something else that we negotiated on your behalf is prescription drug rebates. Rebates are dollars that Blue Cross Blue Shield gives back to you. Pharmaceutical companies give them coupons. They return those back to the village. They had made no adjustment to your rebates, and we requested that they revisit and create an adjustment. So those are credits that you receive back. From an administration standpoint, what Blue Cross charges to be your plan administrator, a 3% change in administration fees. So when we tally all of these expenses, you'll see initial renewal 18.7, negotiated to a 12.1. So I want you to pay attention to those bottom numbers in the light blue. This is what you're paying month in and month out. You pay it based on employees, so it's a pretty substantial, consistent number for you. And we're tallying in at about 1.1 million that you will pay in fixed. And unless headcount changes pretty dramatically, you can count on paying that. When you flip to the next page, this is all purely projection. So you agree to pay your own claims. Blue Cross Blue Shield understands that you have to create a budget and you have to create conventional rates to express what this program costs. So they will give you an expectation of claims. The way they express it to you is they say on average, if we have 143 employees, plus we have all their plan members, their spouses, and dependent children, everybody will utilize claims differently, but we will average for you how to budget on a per employee basis. And that's the factor that you see listed. What they expect is 1,788, and they're telling you for 2025 you can budget at 1,806, which again is only a 1% change in claims. And so that is actually a very good outcome for the village, because again, trend increases are around 8%, and that's just medical inflation.
That's per policy, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
There's 143 policies, and it's going from 1788, you're saying annually, to 1806, correct?
Monthly.
Monthly, I'm sorry,
Yes, monthly.
monthly.
So that is monthly. And then if you look right underneath there, you'll see the monthly cost. We're just multiplying that 143 against that new factor, and then multiply that by 12. So again, in fixed costs, about 1.1 million, and in claim expectation, 3.1 million. And together, go down to that navy blue, and you can go all the way off to the right-hand side renewal column. This is going to represent that negotiated fixed cost of 12% plus your claim liability. Your claim liability is not being negotiated. There's no reason to do that. It's a forecast. So if we have Blue Cross change that, your claims will be your claims. So we really want them to give their good estimate of what your claims look like. So our bottom line program cost is that 4.217, 4.2 million. You'll see a navy blue number underneath it at 4.9. Essentially, that is just showing you your maximum in claims. So you have the ability to pay claims as they occur. If at some point you go 25% over what they expected, that's that other maximum claim factor right above, then an insurance line would kick in and protect the entire village. You can budget legally around the 4.2 million. So our last step in this complicated tunnel is we take that 4.2 and we keep that number in mind, and then we look down on page 11 and we look at your actual plan enrollment. And again, they can enroll in the HCA plan or the high deductible plan, and they can enroll of one of 4 tiers, covering themselves, covering spouse, children, and to be a true family, they cover a spouse and at least one child. Again, we have 139 in our HCA plan. Our high deductible plan has 4 employees enrolled. And when we look at the current rates that are to represent the cost of the program, based on the current funding, we are funding to 3.872. And you'll see if you look over at the renewal rates that are recommended, they fund to the 4.2. But you'll see that adjustment is 8.8. And again, your program costs have changed by approximately 3.7%, but your enrollment has decreased in families and spouses. And so you're not funding as much as you were last year.
So, and again, as you point out, Renee, when we look at conventional rates, this is just the overall, this is what the insurance costs. This is not the villages. You're saying this is an 8.8% increase overall for everything?
Really, the increase is 3.7, but this is what you communicate, and if you're using it for the budget, then you need to true it up to 8.8.
Right.
These are the rates that you share with employees. This is to express the cost of your program. The cost of your program has increased,
Right.
and these rates have not changed since last year of 2024. So as you set your budget, you need to budget around the 4.2. And if you're looking at it from the conventional rates, yes, it's an 8.8% change.
Okay.
And then beyond that, you have set contributions. We just illustrate for the village what employees contribute to the rate. You'll see at the top of the page we're denoting 85% contribution from the village, which means employees pay 15% of these conventional rates. You also have a wellness program, so if they participate in the wellness program, there's an incentive as noted at the top of the page. So we have two different sets of rates for employees depending on if they participate in wellness. Beyond the page of employee contributions, we always share a historical look back. This will denote any time you're making plan design changes, and you'll see only the high deductible plan has changed in terms of deductible, and that's when the government has required it per IRS regulations. On page 15 is a summary looking back at the different rates you've paid from insurance, administration, and then very importantly at the bottom of the page, your claim projection. Claim projection, how it's changed. So really, if you're looking back, this is the lowest claim projection you've had looking all the way back to 2018. And then medical claims experience, we're not going to go through this in great detail, but I just want to point out to the committee on page 18, when Blue Cross says to project for a 1% change, the time period that they do look back at, and over that time period on page 18, I want you to go down to the bottom left-hand corner, lots of information, but essentially on a per employee basis, you are running 4% lower. Another really important point is large claimant activity. We talked about this at our administration meeting. But on the next page 19, this is going to show you large claimants. So again, you pay claims on each person, whether it's an employee, spouse, or dependent child, until you've spent $70,000 towards their claims. This report's going to track people at $35,000 or more. And I think it's just really important to have an understanding of the claim spend. It's not unique to the village, but really when we look at a $3.1 million in claim spend, it's not that your whole entire village is utilizing at this, all of the employees and their family members. We do have large claimants, and they do take up a lot of the claim spend. So on this particular exhibit, 22 members, and again, that can be employee, spouse, dependent child, or retirees. It's one plan member. These 22 have incurred $1.9 million in claims.
Ouch.
Yeah, and that's, to me, really the big issue with healthcare. Even if we're all utilizing the way we expect, these are your kind of your lightning strikes. And the more you have in a year kind of dictates the good or bad year. We go further in this, and I think we illustrate that 4.6% of your population's incurring maybe 47% of your claims. So we always look at stop loss. Stop loss is that level of responsibility you take on claims. You pay a set premium to Blue Cross Blue Shield. We evaluated an $80,000 stop loss and a $90,000 to see If you agree to pay more in claims, we know initially that premium will be reduced, but then we do look back and do an analysis to say, you save in premium, but now you take on an additional 10 or 20,000 in claim liability, what's your net effect? And really, when we look at it, we're not seeing that you guys can leverage your stop loss and take on additional liability. In very few instances do you win. And if you do, it's by a small amount.
That's on page 32?
Yes. Lots of claim information. We can flip past it for time, but lots of dicing of that information. So, looking in the most recent time period, and we haven't finished the full time period, it's really only 9 months into the year. We're only at a $6,000 surplus, plus you have the liability for the next 4 months. Or 3 months of that stop loss. If it was in the full time period of 2022, you would pay slightly more. 2023, looking at the $80,000, a $34,000 decrease. So we kind of have a jump around. We don't have a clear picture that, especially out of this year and the 2 prior years, we feel 2 of the years the village would spend more because, again, you have to agree to pay more in claims.
Our stop loss was we spent $2 million. And, significantly, now we're back to 1.5 again. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of a roller coaster. It's been up and down since 21.
It's been up and down. 2020 is really your clear winner year. So once you leverage your stop loss up, it's not something you go backwards on then. Once you go up to 80 or 90, you're not going to buy your way back down. So looking at this, it'd be our recommendation that you're at the correct stop loss level and that there isn't a clear indication that you're overinsuring on stop loss.
Exactly. So, again, as an alternative, trustees, or Renee, if I'm saying this correctly, like as you just said, right now, the village pays the first $70,000 of each claim. If we increase that to $80,000, if we're saving 1.2%, and which isn't a whole lot of money to take on that much more risk for an additional $10,000 per claim.
Correct, and you don't know how the claims will come in. It's kind of like gambling,
Right.
So we don't see a big slush fund. Sometimes we meet with clients and we tell them you'd have to have 23 large claimants, and you've never had that, hit over in order to break even on this. That's not the case for the village. So it's always important to do the analysis to see,
Right.
because Blue Cross will give you some discretion at setting the different stop loss. But again, if you went to an 80,000, you would pay less in premium, but that claim factor that we gave you would have to go up because Blue Cross would say, well, you better be, you're on the hook to pay $10,000 more. So from a budget standpoint, it almost looks like a break even. It's just your ability to not ship those dollars off in premium and see if it happens in claims. But it's very close to a break even right now, 9 months into the year, with a $6,000 surplus and 3 more months of stop loss claims to come in when we're looking at this. So it's our recommendation that you would remain at the $70,000. And then beyond that, we have some plan alternative information, some benchmarking, and again, looking at dental on a high level. We can move to dental, which is our next line, pages 50 and 51. Dental's much more simplistic. You pay just an administration fee to Blue Cross Blue Shield. There's no change in that administration fee, which is $5.40. And then just based on your most recent dental claim activity, they're telling you to budget and increase your projection on claims by 4.2%. So the combination of the two in navy blue is a 3.8%, but very importantly, the annual fixed costs that you pay them, the claim liability, it equates to $152,000 annually. Then we just go to the next page, our last exercise, to look at your current rates based on your current enrollment, which you have 201 total employees enrolled in the program. And to date, we're funding for $143,000. So to fund to that 152 is a 6.4% change. And then to follow, the Benestar is very straightforward, 4.4% change for that supplement. Life insurance, again, approximately an 8% change in rates, which is $370 annually. And that enhanced benefit of, in the line of duty, additional $10,000 payout for employees. And then also a 24-month rate guarantee. So instead of a 12-month, the rates will be in effect for 2 years.
Renee, going back to the dental program,
Yes.
Tony Fasano, our HR manager, has been approached by a few employees that we're going to meet with this week, and they were asking about possibly increasing the dental from $1,000 spend per policy, or I'm sorry, per participant, to a $2,000 per participant. And right now, when you're looking at our dental claim liabilities, on page 53 here, it shows the dental claims were about $131,000.
Correct.
Am I reading it right? Okay.
Yes.
And while the premiums would only, let's say our premium as it is, just for renewal, this is going up $9,100, correct? If we were to go to a $2,000 spend, do you have that in here at all, or no?
So if we go to page 58 and 59,
Okay.
we do have the alternative spreadsheeted. So again, on dental, the way your dental plan works is the plan is going to pay, Blue Cross will pay towards each plan member's claims over the course of the calendar year to an annual maximum. And your current annual maximum is $1,000. So it was a request to quote a $1,500 annual maximum and a $2,000. And so obviously, if the plan is committed to paying $1,500 or $2,000, that claim expectation is going to be adjusted by the underwriter. And so that's where, if you look on page 659, to administer the plan, Blue Cross, it's all the same cost, $5.40, but when they tell you to budget for the claims that will come in, if the plan is going to pay $1,500 in dental benefits versus $1,000, you should budget to spend more towards dental claims. So that 4.2% renewal, which is just a fund for the $1,000 annual maximum per plan member per year, then goes to 13.5% of an increase. To go to 2,000 is 17.7.
Right. Right. So in other words, instead of the $9,100, now we're increasing this by $23,600. Correct, if you went to the $2,000 spend? And then again, our liabilities speak for themselves. If you spent $131,000 last year, you can say your potential liability is going to double that and stuff then too. So, and that's just on the low side. You never know. I know dental work can be kind of expensive sometimes.
Right.
Ballpark with a lot of the public entities that you represent, are they at 1,000, 2,000?
1,000. I mean, 1,000 is essentially the standard. And as we all know, as we use dental plans, that has not changed. And so it doesn't feel comprehensive, but that's just the case of dental. It's very different than medical. So it's an annual maximum, but obviously when you keep in mind, as people cover families, it's not per household, but each person has that annual maximum. So if I have 4 members at home, I have $4,000 of dental care. Moving to these plans, especially at the 2,000, that would double my household to 8,000. And so, yes, dental is expensive, so you should expect as a village, and that's why they're telling you to forecast for up to a 17.7% increase in claims, people will use this. If they have more major services, they're going to use that full $2,000 allowance.
Right. So going back to, obviously, the biggest number in the room, Renee, was the medical insurance that we need to budget for is, as you said, your Blue Cross's projection right now this year was 3.8, almost $3.9 million, correct?
believe it was 4.2, but you're right in the
No,
3.7.
moving, and the renewal is going to be 4.2, so it's going up 8.8%, call it 9%. But, and I know when I tallied up my monthly invoices, I had to guesstimate this month, because I had the previous 11, but we're spending close to $350,000 a month on healthcare. And I should say everything, that includes our dental and everything else. So that 3.8, we actually spent roughly 3.9, and the renewal, like, as you says, 4.2 million at almost 9%. So that's approximately, as you have noted here, this is going to be roughly a $343,000 increase. Okay.
Of which you pay 85%, employees pay 15%.
Right. And, yeah, so ours, when we broke it out, it was actually $291,635. Okay.
And same is true of the dental. Your current and renewal, village will pay 85%, employees pay 15%. So if you were to elect these alternatives, village pays 85%, employees pay 15%.
Right, because our village contribution on here overall is $3.6 million, and that's almost 3.7. A lot to digest. Probably not a great meeting for the students to come in, too, to listen to this night, because it can get a little Chinese. But trustees, any questions for Renee?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
A lot to
Made it
digest,
very
Renee.
Understandable. Thank you.
We're going to, HR Manager Fasano is going to call a meeting this week with the unions, so we can share this with them as well, because we're obligated to do so annually, and we need to renew this, trustees, by January 1st, so we'll be bringing this up in one of our next coming meetings. If you have any questions, please send them to me, and I'll share them with Renee, and we'll try and get those resolved as quick as we can. Okay. We have a final number here, yeah. I'm just saying, if anybody has any questions, it doesn't necessarily have to be next week, but in the next 2 weeks, we're going to approve this. Yeah, okay. Thanks, thank you, Renee. We'll go back to our agenda. We'll start with my report. I think we had enough information this evening, but we have a report from our Director of Emergency Preparedness, Chuck Tracy. Chuck just graduated his 7th class for the CERT program. That's the Community Emergency Response Team. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just give you a brief overview. So, as the mayor said, we had the 7th class. It's hard to believe it's at the 7th class already. We started this back, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. But it was held, that class began on September 4th. We always do the classes on Wednesday evenings, 8 Wednesdays in a row from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. First September Wednesday every year. So this year was on September 4th. Then after after that 8th class, that 8th Wednesday, the Saturday after that, is when the disaster scenario lunch and graduation occurs. So you see that? It was on October 26th, just recently. And it was held at Sertoma Star Services. We had it there the last 2-3 years. The one right here on 4100 West 127th Street. They did great. We had 12 members. It's a perfect size for all of the stuff that we do, because you can see there where I jotted down some of the information. They actually do a lot in the 20-hour course. As you may remember, this course is sponsored by FEMA through the Federal Emergency Management Agency. They've got these courses throughout the nation. And you're doing the same thing. And of course, with the monthly training, you can go further. And even in the regular classes, you can go further on certain things. But the monthly classes is where we actually drill down more on the actual perfecting of their skills that they learned with this basic class. You can see that we had 5 residents and 7 non-residents. That particular day began at 7:30 in the morning and ended at approximately 2:30 p.m. by the time we got done with lunch, graduation, everything. So I gave you a brochure. It's the same brochure that's handed out during the recruiting. It's got some good information in there. It also shows the various weeks of training. I think it's on the last part of it, but it's got good information on the inside, too, about CERT. So tell your friends, neighbors. You know, we got everyone from 18 to probably 75 or maybe even older on the class, you know, on the team. Everyone from a housewife to doctor to EMTs to trucking to nursing through the years. I mean, you name it. We got someone from Cook County Homeland Security on the team, police officers, so it runs the gamut. When I talk, as you know, I teach over at the college. When I talk to the criminal justice students there, I tell them this is just as applicable to you as it is your parents. So it's an outstanding program. You can see there real quickly, I'm just going to let you know some of the weeks of training. Start off with disaster preparedness. Week 2, they get into, we go over to reliable fire extinguisher business there on 128th Place in Cicero, and they actually do live fire extinguisher training. They also go through, they learn how to, and they physically shut down the gas on a sample meter that we have, a natural gas meter, and also they work with electric breaker box, because these are things that they may be asked to do. Week 3, you can see we start getting into various things. This is just a brief overview of it, but airway skills, what to do if there's airway issues, bleeding control, tourniquets, the military tourniquets, pressure bandages, shock. And then we need two particular days for the medical operations, and they get into bandaging, splinting, surveys, Narcan, EpiPen, triage, treatment, tagging of victims, a lot of things that people may not realize what they're doing. Light search and rescue inside and outside. Why? Because the main purpose from CERT is if fire and police can't get to you during a disaster, and you see this in the hurricanes, you've also seen it in certain instances, you know, up north with the active shooter incident and just different things that they may be called to come out, you know, when, of course, when it's, hopefully, when it's safe enough for them to call them out. But the whole idea is if the fire or police need any help or assistance for any reason, they can make an official request, and that's when we go out. And as you know, you've seen us around at various events in town. That applies to both emergency and non-emergencies. So it's just an outstanding program. So I mentioned inside and outside search. What do we mean by that? They're all vetted, which is why we got somebody from Cook County Homeland Security on the team, and why state and local, and if it ever got to be bigger, even federal, but in most instances for us at the state and local level, they love us, and you're starting to use CERT teams more and more. Why? Because they're vetted. They don't have to be as concerned about them entering buildings and you know, treating patients, whatever needs to be, inside businesses or inside homes, whatever the case might be. And there may be instances, again, you've seen this even with the hurricanes, where these response teams may be it. They may be it for many hours, possibly. So that's why it's important. We probably do triage training and triage-related training with tagging of victims probably at least 6 times a year, because that would be one of the main reasons why we get called out. Not just the triaging, but the treatment, that type of thing. Disaster psychology, terrorism CERT, and then you see the graduation. What I want to do is mention a little bit about the graduation day. I want to publicly thank all the Alsip CERT members, instructors, and leaders that assisted on October 26th, just recently. Their ongoing support, commitment, and dedication is truly inspiring. Special thanks to Erin Laskowski, one of our members. She's the volunteer coordinator. She actually started out, she had scouts about 4 years ago, and the scouts were volunteer victims, and she liked what she saw so much she became a member of the team. So she's a volunteer coordinator. She did a great job this year with all of the victims, because she's got ties into other Boy and Girl Scout groups and that. So we had about 20 of the scouts there. Parents also were there to assist and be with the children. And they did a great job, as usual, with prepping the victims, the moulage, applying mock injuries. Special thanks to these particular vendors. We used some other vendors, but these 3 that I'm highlighting here actually made substantial donations. Chick-fil-A, they've helped. They made donations. This is the seventh year in a row where they've provided all the food for breakfast, because they come at 7:30 in the morning. They start the moulaging. Then the students show up at about 8 o'clock to prepare for the disaster scenario, which usually starts a little more than an hour after that. So this is 7 years in a row. A little shout out for Chick-fil-A here in Crestwood. This year they donated breakfast for about 40 people. Baracos this year we used, they provided a substantial discount of 25%. And then Orland Bakery, thank God for my wife, she's got a tie-in with Orland Bakery, the pastries there, and they donated pastries, the value of about $170 in pastries, and didn't charge us. So just wanted to give a shout out for that. And then some miscellaneous information here. I want to also thank these particular village departments that provide assistance either on graduation day or that has to do with assistance that they provided for the scenario or various things on graduation day, or actually in various ways throughout the year. And these are the departments: the clerk's office, the mayor's office, police department, fire department, public works, water department, and the building department. I just wanted to take this opportunity from me, the emergency preparedness director, to let all those departments know we appreciate all your help. I can let you know, in closing here real quick, we've got 39 active right now CERT members, and with the 7th class, Mayor and Board, there's 110 that we've trained since it first began. And just like New Lenox and others, you got ebb and flows because people move at times and different things happen, situations. So it's actually a great number of 39 being active. And the purpose of having the classes each year is you build upon that. New Lenox, for example, they're up to about class number 20 or 21. They've trained some 700 people, and they've got a team of about 150. That's like a small army, so you can imagine. And they do a lot of events, just like we do. And in closing, I can just let you know, you may or may not realize, I just did a little math today. For fiscal year 24, speaking of the CERT team, which is May 1st, as you know, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, you may not realize, but to just that particular year, I didn't do this one year because this year, fiscal year 25, because it isn't closed out yet. But they accrued just in that year, fiscal year 24, just under 1,900 hours. So I mean, that's unbelievable when you think about it. 1,900 hours, and you can break that down. Even if you take away the training, and you talk about the events alone, we're talking about non-emergency situations. It's 703 hours that they accrued. And that's many events. They may not all necessarily be tied in exactly with the village, because we'll assist other towns. Because remember, we got residents and non-residents. We help with other situations if need be, if it fits. And I, as a coordinator, need to determine that. But if I broke out the events. Out of all of the events at 703 hours, 9 of the events were, and this is pretty typical. 9 of the events were Village of Alsip type of events. And you know what they are: cleanup day, cop on top, open house, park district, fun fest, different things like that. The Santa's event, we got another one coming up. So 9 of them, and just breaking out the ones for the village alone, that's just under 290 hours. So you look at that, these days that you have issues with manpower and that type of thing, it makes a big difference. And anytime I get a chance to talk about it, I let you know, because I can't assume that people know these things, because many times they don't. So that's a lot of hours right there, 290 hours of help, and so just keep that in mind. And I would just say again in closing, if you have any questions from the standpoint of emergency preparedness, remember my position is Department of Emergency Preparedness Director. CERT just falls under that. So there's other responsibilities obviously that they have with plans, and the hazard mitigation plan you just saw recently that we worked on, and other types of plans that are in process, continuity of government plans, continuity of operations plan, recovery plan, working with Cook County Homeland Security with all of these plans. They've changed it up, so now instead of just emergency operation plan, they got 4 in 1. They got 4 in 1 that they had to go through multiple workshops in that last year. So a little bit of a curveball, but all of the towns are working on that too throughout Cook County, hopefully, because their goal is to get everybody on board with all of that, just like they did with the hazard mitigation plan, and so much so that they hired outside help in that to help them with this entire process. But if anybody has any questions for me, feel free to contact me at any time. Give me a call. I'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Very
That's
good.
all I have.
No, thank you for your report, Chuck. And just Did we get any grant opportunities this year? Any grants?
Yeah, I'm working on, this is probably about the fifth or sixth grant that I'm working on with Walmart once again,
Okay, good.
and they've done, so I've already talked to them, so I usually try tapping into them every year, and they're an outstanding resource as well. Sometimes it's $1,000, sometimes it's $1,500, whatever, $2,000, it all helps.
Understood.
You know.
Yeah, just let us know, or if
Is
you
it
need
all-
any letter of support or anything like that, let me
Yeah.
know, okay?
It all helps, so that's about the only one right now that I've got on the radar.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck.
So, finishing my report, this week, I'm going to be participating in a presentation down at the county building at 69 West Washington on the CDBG grants. I'll be down there with some management personnel from Robinson Engineering, our village engineer area, too, so really want to get involved in that. The CDBG grants, we're fortunate to be recipients of maybe every other year, and I appreciate the invitation to go down and participate in the grant session. Next, we'll go to our clerk's report. Clerk Harding?
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the October 28th, 2024 committee meeting minutes, presentation of the November 4th, 2024 board meeting minutes, and presentation of the October 2024 FOIA report. And that is all I had, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We don't need an attorney this evening, and our engineer is not available this evening. Does anyone in the public wish to address the board tonight? Nobody? All right, then we'll go to our standing committee reports, starting with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlowan?
Thank you, Mayor. I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next, Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. We have the revisiting the discussion to amend Chapter 9, Article 2, Section 9 through 32, ambulance service, discussion to increase the ambulance billing rates based on our current cost report, which was submitted by our GEMT. This report is mandated by CMS, discussion of missing lift assist fee from the current ordinance. Chief?
So, yeah, I just want to revisit, come back. We had the discussion about a month ago. I just sent out the cost report. I don't know if anybody got to look at it.
I haven't seen it.
I sent it to the mayor. I sent it to the fire committee and the mayor. So,
I'll
yeah,
have to get it back to you. I don't recall seeing it either, Chief.
within a couple days after the board meeting, I sent it out, our cost
Okay.
report from this year. Based on what our GMT was this year, we'd lose out on $163,000 that we would have collected this year, just in that difference in rate going from 2,200 up to 3,000.
So I did ask, trustees, Ms. Formel, our health insurance broker, if she knew of anything indifferent with that, and she did not have any data on that. So we're certainly, Chief, did you have any kind of examples of any other communities that adopted the same number?
No, every community is different. It depends on what the cost report comes out. Some are higher, some are lower.
Okay.
Every municipality is different. So it's
But-
all based on age of the vehicles, depreciation of buildings, staffing. There's all kinds of factors that go into it.
I get that, but I'm just asking how many, where's the median? I'm just asking.
There really is
if
no
you
median.
took a
It's all-
poll of
it can go
20
anywhere
suburbs.
from $1,900 up to $6,500, or some municipalities they're charging up to actually $8,000. I heard one $8,000 already that they're charging for their GMT rate, and several at $6,500.
The other two that you mentioned in here, I'll have to ask the attorney about that, what happened with the lift assist fee, because everyone was in favor of that.
Yeah,
It might have just been a
Not
typo, Chief.
I think it was, because I know it was included in the 2020, and then when it changed in 2022, it got omitted, and I missed it when it came out. I think it was on there, but the actual format with it never included when it was updated for the website. So.
I'll ask Cheryl Kankar to get back
Yep.
into it. Okay. Trustees, any questions for Chief Szynski? No? All right, Chief, thanks. Then I'll ask Mr. Kankar to draft something for
Okay.
us then, too.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right. Next, can we go to the police and traffic safety report? Trustee Dalzell.
The presentation of the Police Department October 2024 monthly activity report, and then there's a couple of ordinances listed here. One's the request for approval of an agreement regulating the motor vehicle stopping, standing, parking, and movement in the parking areas of the property, commonly known as 3730 West 119th Street, Alsip, Illinois. This next one is actually one I believe has already been authorized under 2024-10-7. That was the request for the approval of an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement between the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, and Christ United Methodist Church of Alsip, Illinois, regulating motor vehicle stopping, standing, parking, and movement in the parking areas of the property commonly known as 3730 West 119th Street, Alsip, Illinois.
So I think, Trustee, because one of the clerks asked me about that as well, too, what we approved at our last board meeting was the overall ordinance. With this, we're actually identifying first the agreement with the church and then ordinance recognizing the same apparently in two.
Well, I think according to the minutes of 2024-10-7 was assigned to what is labeled here as number 3. What's missing is the ordinance that we are going to pass that's under 19-106.
I'm
Blanket
making a note
ordinance.
on this, Trustee Dalzell. So number 3, you're saying identifies as 2024-10-7 in the ordinance?
That's my belief, yes.
Okay, and then what were we saying about number 2?
There's, well, number 2 is something that we still have to address,
Right.
and then we also have to address the ordinance that the Kanker law firm had written up, and it was titled for ordinance, for section 19-106. It was a new section.
Section 19, say it again?
19-106. That would be the violation code.
Oh, the violation. Okay, I see what you're saying. I'll look at it tomorrow, so we'll get that on there.
Thank you, sir. That's all I
Okay.
have.
Okay. Next, we have the Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the Public Works October 2024 monthly activity reports, and that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next, Sewer and Water, Trustee Navar-Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the Water Department October 2024 monthly activity report. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Building and Health, Trustee Parada.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 1, presentation of the Building Department October 2024 monthly activity report. And finally, a presentation of the Health Department October 2024 monthly activity report. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Trustee Murphy, anything else you wanted to add to the insurance and HR report?
No, sir, that's all I had.
Okay. Go to special committee reports, starting with economic development. Trustee Navar-Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any items this evening, just a follow-up in regards to fire water and the 2 units that are, or the 2 storefronts. Has there been any progress with the lease of those, or that the owner has shared?
He's actually shared messages with us, just saying he's actually having a hard time with just due to taxes and whatnot. And actually, he's got to get his attorneys involved because of the Class 7C. Roger, if I'm saying this correctly, are you into the circle on this conversation much? 7C. So we gave him a special tax assessment when they did this. The county, because they're so far behind in their books, are not acknowledging such now. So now he's got attorneys down there where his bill went up, what, 150%? Maybe more? Yeah, it was like 300%. He's paying more in taxes. So he's got to go down to resolve these, and because of the way they stand, you can't even look at this thing right now and stuff yet, too. And we looked at it, and our attorneys looked at it, and they're like, this is something totally his attorneys have to deal with and stuff because it's on the county.
Okay, we're just asking, because I know there's residents that have asked me since, there was the option of a Starbucks or the current owner that has acquired and built. So I just wanted to, as public record, just recognizing that I did ask. And I guess that's what the status is of that property.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
No, I mean, he'd have somebody in there tomorrow if he could, but we saw a real problem with, in fact, we have an issue right now. I won't say where the house is at, but Roger and I were working with a house that, Roger, that house was abandoned, when, 2008? Nobody's living in that house? In 2008, somebody, they passed away. And unfortunately, it went to a scavenger sale. In '21, somebody bought the taxes on that, and gosh darn it, the Recorder of Deeds office still hasn't listed who owns that property. Yep. And we had to step in to cut the grass and maintain everything, and we did everything in the interest of protecting the health of that particular community. But it's amazing how somebody actually paid like a dozen years' worth of taxes and haven't even come around to take credit for what they purchased and stuff yet, too. No, there's so many things that are behind schedule, and I really hope with a lot of these folks that were elected last week, I'll certainly write them a letter and ask for some attention to be made there, because we're trying to resolve these type of things, and in that particular case, that was actually like a duplex house. You got a person that owns the other side of that house, and he's living next to something that's been abandoned forever and stuff yet, too, so.
The tax rate for this property of Firewater as compared to Starbucks is immaterial because it's developed property.
Well, I tell you, I think he was at roughly maybe $8,000 a year, and it went up to almost 90. Yeah.
Right.
So, I get it, it's on the whole property, but I'm just saying that it's a shared cost, or will be, but, yeah, everybody's getting a little shy about the thing right now, but we have some other interest, and when I hear more, I'll let you know.
Oh, just asking. I know
Okay.
a couple of residents have asked me, so
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. Next, we have the village properties, Trustee McGlohan.
Thank you, Mayor. On the agenda, I have the presentation of the Heritage Monthly Activity Report for the month of October. And currently at Heritage 1, we have 3 vacancies available for rent, and at Heritage 2, we have 2. And then we have 4 remodels in process at Heritage 1 and 6 in process at Heritage 2. And then also not on the agenda, I'm not sure if everybody saw it today or not, but Roger sent out the quote to get the truck repaired. And I say it's right at what his original estimate was. The quote's coming in at $18,800.
Roger, is the body on that, is that one of those utility, like diamond plate things, or?
Regular bed.
It's just a pickup truck bed?
Yeah, it's a pickup truck bed.
'Cause I thought I saw over $6,000 for a bed.
It's a $6,973.
That's just for the bed.
For the new
Now,
bed. Mhm.
That's not including the plow. Well, the plow is already on it, but the reservoir, the pump, everything to make the plow actually work, that's what is also included in that $18,000.
Okay.
I did ask them to give us a separate price to utilize it as putting a little hydraulic pump on the front of it, and make it electric, and then just run electric so that we can take, if something was to happen to the 2012 truck, take that salt spreader off, put it on the 09, so that we would have a backup system in place if the 2012 was to go down for salting, or I would have to call upon Mikey and his crews to do it.
So, again, I'm just kind of stuck at, this is a 2009 Ford pickup truck that just has a standard 8-foot bed.
Standard 8-foot bed on it, there's
That's
nothing left to
$6,500
it.
for one of those.
65, when I put the other one on the 2012, I want to say it was roughly $5,000.
Okay. I'm just ballparking, I would have thought it'd be half that much and stuff, that's all. Okay.
I mean, I'd be more than happy to get another price. Like I said in the letter, I did reach out to 2 companies just to give us prices on what it would cost. I have a number in my head that well exceeds the cost of the price of the truck. It far exceeds that. The one gentleman that did come out, he already said, he goes, I could tell you I'm going to be in the triple digits or 6 figures to plow Heritage, both complexes.
Roger, so then, because I know that you mentioned per push, so per push includes plowing and also sidewalks and so forth like that? Or is it just the?
It would be for plowing.
Okay,
The the guys that are there would be doing the sidewalks.
okay.
So, but I did ask both of them to give me a price per push and a contract for December through April 30th. The per push is going to be it's going to be more per push, and from what I've been told, for the salt is going to be $200, $250 per occurrence, plus the $300 a ton. Roughly, I would go through there with roughly 4 to 6 tons, depending on how bad the storm was, just to give you some rough numbers
4 to 6 tons
of salt between both properties.
for one, that's one spread? Wow.
Yeah, and I'm coming here to pick it up from Public Works.
So, especially to the Village Properties Committee, Trustee McGlohan, Trustee Anna, as far as, obviously the whole board's involved in the decision, but with your committee, let's talk next week and let's make a decision whether or not we want to spend $15,000 on a 2009 vehicle. Because that's the bottom line here.
Yeah, I mean, there's the supports on the bed are completely rotted away. They look like used. I mean, it literally sits like that.
The alternative is, even on the low side, you could be spending $75,000 on something like this.
Currently, I checked on Friday. The 25 prices haven't come out. As soon as they come out, I'll have it priced out. The other thing that we could do is just put it out to bid for the 25. It costs us a little bit to advertise it, but then we would know what our numbers would be. I can solicit people here in town and other that have given us decent pricing in the past.
Get 3 numbers, Raj, so we got something for a conversation.
I would have to put it out to bid because it's going to be more than 20.
Oh, you're right.
Which is why I would ask for authorization to put it out to bid. You're talking minimal money, $100, $200 to put it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
We'd have a number within 3 weeks.
Don't we already have pricing on these things? Co-ops?
You know what, we do.
Pre-bid?
Roger was looking for
Sourcewell.
a 1 ton. I can actually get pricing on 3/4 tons.
It was a 3/4 ton, it was the $82,000.
Yeah, I think I got one even better than that, Raj, but I'll double check. Through the Northwest Co-op,
Northwest Co-op, that's
Yeah.
who I went through previously.
because I think Mike Frater got that to me. So let me
I
double
believe
check.
that was a 250 and not a 350.
I get it, but at 250 we'll push snow out there too. I mean, it's not that big. But let me see if I can get that number.
Well, and I wasn't privy to that. Was that including the plow and the spreader?
No, I think it was just a
Yeah,
truck.
So you're talking,
Yeah,
you're going to have to add that 25 to 26,000 on top of that number.
right. That's what I'm saying. I'll double check it.
But I think, I mean, just based on that and the amount of time it would take to get the bids back and then get it outfitted with plow and everything, I think the amount of time it would take, we would not have it available for this winter. So I think at this point in time, the smarter way to go would be to go ahead and authorize the repair of the current truck. I know $18,000 is not ideal, but in order to guarantee that we've got it for this season.
I would not recommend throwing $18,000 into a 29 or 2009 truck that is rusted, because I'm going to tell you they're going to come back once they take this bed off. They're going to have to put stiffeners on there. They're going to have to weld it in order to make that work. He's going to, I can tell you now, they're going to come back and say, sorry, we can't put that bed on there without putting cross members on there to support so that we can actually put this bed on there. So that number is going to go up. I'm just being upfront with you guys, that number, until you take the bed off, and yeah, it's 6 bolts, but until you see it, until you get underneath it, and if there's nothing left to bolt a new bed to, you're going to have to restructurally rebuild that frame.
I mean, if it had been half that number, I'd definitely be in, but that's why I said what I did, is I think throwing $18,000 into an 09 doesn't seem,
I was looking at offer up and gov deals. I mean, an 09 is going for $6,700. Why in God's green earth are we going to put $18,000, almost $19,000?
well, obviously, we didn't know yesterday, now we know, so. All right, let me work on this, trustees, and I'll get you something this week, all right? Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
Trustee McGlaughlin, anything else?
Yeah, that's all I have under village
Okay,
properties.
we'll go to ordinance legislation, trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have approval of an ordinance authorizing an agreement of the Village of Alsip with Midwest Laminating and Coatings Incorporated with respect to the property located at 5300 West 127th Street, Alsip, Illinois, PIN number 2428000390000. Next, I have approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip approving the renewal of a Class 6B assessment status for the real estate located at 5300 West 127th Street, Alsip, Illinois, PIN number 2428000390000. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated October 28th through November 8th of 2024, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Under presentations, petitions, and communications, I'd like to share that and wish everyone watching our video tonight happy. Thank you for your service. Today's Veterans Day. We did commemorate the event today at Veterans Plaza, as we do every year. It's at the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour is the designated time. And I want to thank everyone. We had a nice crowd out there today from the Alsip VFW Post 450. And again, I want to thank, we had a nice showing here. We all, the Alsip Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works, Water, the clerks, and actually NBC Channel 5 was out there filming this yet too. I want to thank them for being out there today. It was a nice group. Anybody else? Then, anybody have any unfinished business? Any new business? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks much. The time now is 8:54 p.m. We'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you for joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night.